Welcome back to the Mentor Nation podcast. I'm your host, John Abbas, and I'm very excited to have you guys with me today. I'm going to bring on a very special guest that's going to talk about something that I think is going to blow you away. If you're interested in investing, making money, growing your money, he's going to talk about something that actually blew my mind and got me very excited. So I can't wait to bring him on in just a minute. Whether this is your first time here or you've been here before, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate your time and your attention. I will never take that for granted. If you could hit that subscribe button so that you get notified every time I release a new episode, I would greatly appreciate that. It's funny. I've had a lot of people on this show that have made a ton of money in real estate. We've had people crushing it with short-term rentals, long-term rentals, multifamily, commercial real estate. But my guest today makes millions and millions of dollars in an area of real estate that most people don't touch or even understand. And that's raw land. It's crazy. But Mark Podolski is known as the Land Geek. He has mastered a system that allows him to buy tons of land all over the United States and sell it from a huge profit for a huge profit, all from his computer. Even crazier, he's taught a lot of people how to do the exact same thing. People, lawyers, have replaced their income following his strategies. So I'm excited. In this interview, Mark shares just so much wisdom. He talks about why land is the best investment. Now, this is important to understand. There's practically no competition in raw land. Right now, real estate is absolutely insane. You're getting in bidding wars, and the profits are just not there to be made like it was in real estate, because you buy low and sell high. You don't have to worry about that with raw land. There's almost zero competition, and he shares exactly how he does what he does. I'm excited for you guys. This is such a brilliant interview, and I hope you enjoy. Well, Mark, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being on. I've been looking forward to this interview for a long time, so I'm glad you're here.
John, thanks so much. I am privileged. I am humbled. I am honored. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. I've been really looking forward to talking to you about your expertise, and I really think the audience is going to love this. And for those listening in, Mark Podolski is one of the foremost, if not, from the research I've done, you are like the foremost expert when it comes to investing in raw land, teaching other people how to do it, how to build passive income streams, and that's just why I'm so excited to interview you today. And like, when I think of most people and when they think of real estate investing, a lot of the norm is long-term rentals, short-term rentals, which is what my expertise is in. That's me and my wife own a lot of short-term rentals. But you have like multifamily and commercial real estate investing, but you have mastered just a whole different sector. And I just would love it if we could talk about that today and why people should pay attention to it. But first, man, I would love to just hear about your story, how you got into this part of real estate investing, what you're doing now, and just all that good stuff, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So if we rewind the tape now, 22 years, the year 2000, I was a miserable, micromanaged 45-minute commute to work and back investment banker, specializing in mergers and acquisitions with private equity groups. And John, it got so bad for me, I wouldn't get the Sunday blues anticipating Monday coming around. I'd have the Friday blues anticipating the weekend going by really fast and have you back at work on Monday. So my firm hires this guy. He's telling me that as a side hustle, he's buying up raw land, pennies on the dollar at tax deed auctions. He's flipping them online, and he's making a 300% return on his investment. And John, I'm looking at companies all day long. And a great company, great. Has 15% EBITDA margins or free cash flow. Average company's 10%. I'm looking at companies all day long, less than 10%. So of course, I don't believe him.
Right.
So I go with him to New Mexico. I got $3,000 saved up for car repairs. I do exactly what he tells me to do. I buy 10 half-acre parcels at an average price of $300 each. I flip them online, and they all sell for an average price of $1,200 each. It worked. So I took all that money. I went to another auction, and this is in Arizona where I live. And again, it's 2000. There's no one in the room. I'm buying up lots, acreage for nothing. And I sold all that property. and I made over $90,000 cash. So I go to my wife and she's pregnant. I said, honey, I'm going to quit my job and become a full-time land investor. And she's like, absolutely not. So I said, okay. So it took about 18 months for the land investing income to exceed the investment banking income. And then I quit, and I've been doing it full-time ever since. I've done over 6,000 transactions and I love it.
6,000 transactions. So, this brings me back to a question I was going to ask you that you already answered is, I was going to ask, did you just stumble upon raw land in the beginning, or did you try other avenues of real estate investing? So I'm assuming because it was from a friend, is that the only avenue of real estate investing that you've ever done? Like, or do you diversify?
No, that's it. In fact, even today, like I'm a inch wide and a mile deep. And the only reason is I just can't find anything better or
Right.
simpler than what I'm doing. I'm flexible like a yogi. If you can tell me something better, I would do it. I just haven't found it. So I had no real estate experience at all as an investor. I mean, I bought a house before I bought land, but that was it.
Man, that's just so incredible. So I'm excited to deep dive and just ask you all kinds of questions that I know people and just to preface this for everybody listening, you have created some incredible content for those that don't get 100% of everything they need to get in this interview. You've written books, you have a podcast, and we're going to have you share all of that, toward the end of this. But I'm just excited to pick your brain on just the world of land investing, because I have a million questions myself. But my first one, just for story moment is, out of all the 6,000 deals that you've done, can you just share quickly, like, what was your best deal and what was like your worst mistake, if you don't mind? I love hearing stuff like this.
Sure. So should we start with the worst one?
Yeah.
Go to the best one? All right. So the worst deal I ever did was in an area of Western Pennsylvania called Treasure Lake. And it was outside like Penn State. And this is like the wealthy area of this area of Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a beautiful community. It was gated. It had 3 lakes, 2 PGA rated golf courses, restaurants. I mean, it was its own community.
Right.
And they had $1 million homes in there, but it was overdeveloped by about 1,000 lots. So they got these lots just sitting there. And so I go in there, I'm like, look, there's a property owners association. And so I said to the POA, I said, look, you've got all this dead money and I'm going to resurrect it. Just give me the lots and remove the liens, because they all had liens on them.
Yep.
And they all owed back taxes. Give me the lots, remove the liens, remove the back taxes, and I'll pay you, a little bit for the lots. I'm going to sell them, and I'll get yourself a new person paying the property owners association fees and property taxes, and I'll make a little money. Well, John, this is like 2004, right? And you would think, oh, that's a no-brainer deal. No. Years I negotiated with these people, flying back and forth. Finally, I convinced them, because they were all afraid. Like the golfers, like, oh, you start selling these lots, I'm not going to get at my tee time. And the boaters were afraid. And so everyone's afraid. I'm like, look, don't worry. So finally, I bought 1,000 lots at $50 a lot. I take them all, right? And then while I'm owning them, no taxes, no POA fees. And I started flipping them. And what happens is, of course, 2008 rolls around and I can't sell these things. And I had to end up giving them back. So I made about $100,000 on the deal. But when I factored in my time, it was the first deal I ever broke even on. So that was the worst deal I've ever done.
Man, 6,000, that is your worst deal. You made 100 grand, broke even. I can't wait to hear your best deal.
That was the worst. So the best deal was in Nevada. I started buying 640-acre sections from, first it started off, the railroad, it was a complicated deal. And so the railroad had sold these properties off to a group, led by Morgan Stanley. And then Morgan Stanley sold all these sections off to a mining company that just wanted the mineral rights, and they were a public company. So I go to the public company. I said, look, you guys don't want the land. You just want the minerals. I said, give me the cheapest sections, right, of 640 acre sections. So I started buying these lots at like $30 an acre, these sections. So I went in and started buying them. I subdivided them into 40 acre parcels, and I started flipping them at 500 an acre. So I had bought as much of that as they would sell me, and I made over $5 million on that one deal.
Oh my God. That's incredible. Well, guys, now that we have heard Mark's stories, I'm excited to get into, just your thought process. Initially, the first question I wanted to ask you is it seems that you buy all over the country. There's no limits. And so I'm just so curious is like, how, like for a newbie, especially, like, where do you look for land? Like, is there websites? Do you go to auction sites? Like, what's kind of like the first step in your process for buying or looking for a location?
Right. So, there's 3,007 U.S. counties.
Oh,
and
man.
you get all the county information at a website called NACO.org, NACO.org, National County Organization. So you can start there, but then it's like, okay, well, how do I pick a market? How do I pick a county?
Yes.
Well, success leaves clues. So I want to go where the other land investors are, where I know definitively there's a market. So there's a website called landmodo.com where there's a ton of land investors. So that's where I would start. So, and it's counterintuitive because you'd think, well, I don't want to go where there's nobody. But like if you and I went fishing together, right? And we go out on our boat and we see there's 20 boats on one part of the lake and they're all catching fish. And then there's 2 boats on the other side of the lake and they're not catching any fish. Should we go where there's no competition or where everybody's catching the fish?
Right. That makes sense. So you use these websites to identify a market. Now, do you have a preset idea of what you're going to do with the land when you buy it? Like, is it like, do you do one of 3 things, or is like every piece of land like its own different like exploration? Like some of them you subdivide, some of them you resell, some of them you lease out. Like what's kind of the mindset when you buy land? Is it just like, I'll see what happens when I get into this market?
It's all about cash flow for me. So I want that property to cash flow. So essentially, John, if you want, I can walk you step by step through the model.
Please. I would love that. I think that'd be the most helpful thing. Cause I've been watching some of your other interviews, and like you make incredible YouTube videos that are just really short and they're just easy to digest. And I really want everybody to check that out after we're done. So I would love that. I think that would be amazing.
Man, you are so good for my fragile ego. Thank you. Okay.
Make good content.
So John, where do you live?
Nashville.
Oh, that's right. Nashville. You're in Tennessee. So I'm going to assume that you bought 5 acres of raw land in Arizona where I live.
Perfect.
And you owe $200 in back taxes. So essentially you're advertising 2 important things to me. Number one, you have no emotional attachment to that raw land.
Right.
You're in Tennessee, the property's in Arizona. And number 2, you're distressed financially in some weird way. Because when we don't pay for things, we don't value them in the same way. And as a result of you not paying your property taxes, the county treasurer keeps sending you notices saying, John, if you don't pay your taxes, you're going to lose that parcel to a tax deed or tax lien investor. So all I'm going to do is look at the comparable sales on your 5 acre parcel for the last 12 to 18 months. I'm going to take the lowest comparable sale. Let's say it's $10,000. I'm going to divide by 4. And that's going to get what Warren Buffett would call a 300% margin of safety. So I want to send you an actual offer of $2,500 for your 5 acre parcel. My philosophy being, I can always make more money. I can't get more time.
Right.
So I don't want to be in the negotiation business saying, oh yeah, I'm interested in buying a land. We're like, I'm interested in selling my land. And now we're negotiating. So I send you an actual offer. Now you accept the offer because for you, $2,500 is better than nothing. In reality, 3 to 5% of people accept my quote unquote top dollar offer. But now that you've accepted it, I have to go through due diligence or this in-depth research. I have to confirm you still own the property. I have to confirm that there's only $200 of back taxes. I want to make sure there's no breaks in the chain of title, no liens or encumbrances. What's the road like? What's the water table like? How far from utilities? Is there legal access, ingress and egress? So I have this whole long checklist that I outsource to my team. In the Philippines, I pay about $11 for due diligence. They're connected to an American title company. Now, everything checks out. I write you a check for $2,300. I write another check to the county for $200. Now I own it free and clear. Now I have a built-in best buyer. I'm going to sell this property 30 days or less. I'm going to make a cash flow like a rental home. And I have a built-in best buyer. John, I know you know who it is.
Neighbors.
Exactly. It's the neighbors. So I'm going to send out neighbor letters saying, here's your opportunity, protect your privacy, protect your views, know your neighbor. So if the neighbors pass, I'll go to my buyers list. My buyers list passes, I'll go to a website you've probably heard of. It's called Craigslist, 10th most trafficked website in the United States. I'll go to another one called Meta or Facebook, buy sell groups, the marketplace. And then I'm going to go to the lands, landmodo.com, landandfarm.com, landsofamerica.com, landflip.com, landhub.com. These are platforms for people buy and sell raw land. But the magic happens in making this property irresistible to my next buyer. So all I'm going to ask for is a $2,500 down payment to control that 5-acre parcel.
Which is what you paid for it.
What I paid for it. And then I'm just making a car payment. Let's say $339 a month, 9% interest in the next 84 months. So it's a one-time sale. I get my money out on the down payment. I could go 6 to 10 months out. And then I'm going to get $339 a month of passive income every single month for the 9% interest for the next 84 months. No renters, no rehabs, no renovations, no rodents. And because I'm not dealing with the tenant, I'm exempt from Dodd-Frank, RESPA, and the SAFE Act, all this onerous real estate legislation. And then it's a simple game. Can I create enough land notes where my passive income exceeds my fixed expenses? And then I'm working because I want to, not because I have to.
That's so crazy. So a couple questions there. You know that 3 to 5% of people are going to say yes to your offer. So at that point, is it just in your mind a numbers game? Like, how do I do this enough times so that the 3 to 5% is, it's not how do I convert the 95% that says no and be patient. It's just like you keep running through the numbers until you get enough deals in the pipeline. Is that correct?
Exactly. So I'll know at my first 100 to 200, maybe even 500 mailings, what the market's responding to me. So if my response rate is less than 3%, I came in too low on my initial offer, and I've got to raise it because it's a dynamic market. And we're in this inflationary environment right now.
Yeah.
What worked 6 months ago won't work today. So I have to raise my offers. Now, if I get a response rate over 5%, I came in too high, and I've got to retrade. So I can imagine if I'm listening to this, well, which is better? Well, if I've got a full-time job, I want to come in low because I don't want to have time to retrade. But if I'm doing this and I've got time, or I've got capital to invest in a intake manager, well, I'll come in high and let's retrade during due diligence.
That makes sense. Now, when you run comps, like, is there a nationwide website that's really great for doing that? Or do you have to use like a specific software in that market used by realtors? Like, how do you run your comparables?
I mean, you can get it really easily from the county, so it's all public information.
Gotcha. That's so cool. So your goal is obviously, I mean, it's so crazy. It's like a buy here, pay here with a car lot, like such a genius. Like, did you pioneer this? Like,
yeah.
That's so crazy. So obviously now, what would you say the success rate is with like the neighbor thing? Like, is it like 50-50? Is it more?
No, it's like 20%. I mean, usually what will happen is the neighbor will get it and they'll say, oh, well, I'll sell it to you. You know, like, well, okay, well, I'll buy it. Absolutely. So, but they usually don't want to sell at the price I want.
Right. Now, do you look for anything in particular? Like, is it any kind of lot in an area where people are investing, or do you specifically like waterfront, or like just in an area where there's subdivisions going on, like in the vicinity? Like, what is there, or farmland? Is there anything specifically that you love personally as an investor?
Well, I'll tell you a story. So when I first started, me and my buddy, we go to Las Vegas, New Mexico, and it's like there's like a university there, but there's all this land there that was being sold what they call over the counter. So this land went up for auction for the minimum bid of what they owed in property taxes, and nobody bought it. So you could go over the counter and just pay the back taxes, and you could own it in a non-competitive environment. So before we did that, and these lots are like going for like nothing, right? So before we did that, we drove the land. And John, I imagined this land to me, it looked like Chernobyl. I mean, it was that ugly. And it was just ugly, ugly land to me.
Right.
And so we look at it and I'm like, this just brown and there's nothing there. Like just imagine like the most ugly Chernobyl-like property imaginable. So my buddy's like, hey, I'm going to buy it. I'm like, dude, you can't buy this land. I'm like, no one's going to buy it. And if they buy it, two things are going to happen. Number one, they're going to want a refund. Or number two, they're going to sue you for wasting their time. He's like, well, I don't know. They're $50 a lot. He's like, they're acre lots. He's like, if I double my money, what's the big deal? Right. So he buys them all. He's like, you sure you don't want to split it with me? I'm like, no, refund, lawsuit. So he starts selling it and making money. And he starts sending me emails of all the purchases. And I email him back, refund. Then he gets another sale. I email him back, refund/lawsuit. This goes on and on until he sells out. Guess how many refunds he had?
0.
Guess how many lawsuits?
0.
So he made about $100,000, and I would have made $50,000 if I just split it with him. So that was a $50,000 lesson that I learned. I am not the target market. I am not the buyer. There is literally a pig for every barn. So if it's priced right, I've never been stuck with a piece of raw land. And a lot of the land that I buy, I personally wouldn't want to own.
That's so cool. Now, I'm assuming 6,000 deals that a majority, if not maybe all of them, are they all sight unseen? Like, do you just look at photos? Do you look at data? Or
back in the day when I didn't really have a mentor and I didn't understand the value of my time, I would actually go out and I did everything myself. And so I was having coffee with my mentor and I was telling him I had a business. He's like, don't insult me. Don't call yourself a business owner. He's like, what happens if, you die tomorrow? What happens to your family? Does that business keep running? Your so-called business? He's like, you got a better job than what you had. That's all you have. I'm like, well, what do you mean? He's like, how do I build a business? Like, you have to have systems, you have to have processes, you have to have people. You should be able to travel around the world, and this thing just continues to flow. So that's what I started building, and it took years to do. But now, I can't tell you the last time I looked at a piece of property. Actually, I can tell you. Actually, I can't tell you. It was a few months ago. I was in Tennessee. But other than that was, if it's over $1 million, I'll go look at it.
Got it. Right. That makes sense. Do you know a Cody Sperber? I think he's out there in Arizona.
I know Cody Sperber. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. I follow him. Clever Investor. That's his. It's so funny. I was just looking this up. I did not know it was you until 1 second ago when I was looking it up while you were talking. So my cousin he lived in Chicago. He lives here in Nashville now, and he sold his tech company for like almost $200 million and kind of went into retirement. And he reached out to me, man, it's probably 2 years ago. And he was just kind of looking for his next thing. And he was like, I just remember him saying like, I'm really thinking about getting into like raw land, like getting into land. And I was like, and he's just like, man, there's this podcast that you got to listen to. Dude, it's your podcast. I just literally realized that it was your podcast that he was trying to get me to listen to back in the day. That's so funny. Like, small world.
It's such a small world. That's crazy.
Yeah. So I want to transition now into like, because you have a whole other aspect of your business, which is you help a lot of people. You help people get involved in land. You help them build passive income. People that are busy working full-time jobs. Can you tell us a little bit about the book that you've written and like, just your training and what you offer and like kind of what that landscape looks like?
Yeah. So I wrote a book called Dirt Rich. And the sequel is actually going to come out fairly soon called Dirt Rich 2, the next plot about how to scale your land business. So Dirt Rich is about, creating a land business, and then Dirt Rich 2 is scaling the land business. And then the training and what I teach people is what I call how to get out of solo economic dependency. And I just think my vehicle is really a good way to do it.
Right.
Solo economic dependency means if you're personally not working, you're not generating any income. So I like to pick on dentists. Think of a dentist. If his hands aren't someone's mouth, he's not generating any revenue.
That's right.
Lawyers, doctors, anyone with a W-2 job, freelancers, solopreneurs. So I really want people to get to that point where they create enough passive income that exceeds their fixed expenses. And then they can actually, create what I call the trifecta in life, where they have their money, they have their health, and they have their time to live their best lives or move up Maslow's hierarchy of needs into self-actualization. And so the training is simple. It's everything from free up to, one-on-one coaching, depending on, your stage of life and how quickly you want to ramp up.
So let's just say somebody let's take an avatar of like one of your students. You're busy 9 to 5, making decent income. And, their goal is to, replace as fast as possible. And, I know you have tons, because when I was watching your videos, you have so many success stories, like so many, like not joking, so many. What's like a realistic expectation to someone coming in that wants to start, go through your program, ramp up, do it on the side? They've got, their job, they've got family, but they really want to take it serious. What's like a typical like success story that you've seen somebody create in like 1 to 2 years, like realistically, just world like scenario?
Yeah. So, let's pick on Roberto Chavez. So Perfect. Roberto's a full-time attorney in El Paso, Texas, and doesn't necessarily love trading hours for dollars.
Right.
So he started working part-time on his land business. And then I think his first year, he was about 10,000 a month in passive. So he calls me up and he says, Mark, I'm going down from 5 days a week to 3 days a week. And I'm spending the other 2 days helping my dad on his ranch in Texas and just bonding with my dad and giving back. So I'm like, Roberto, that's great. The second year, he quit his job and now he's at over 20,000 a month in passive income. He's engaged. Him and his fiance started traveling in Europe this summer, and now he's a full-time land investor. So I would say that somebody who has focus 1 to 2 hours a day, and a focus 1 to 2 hours a day, like not like me, like I have the attention span of a ferret on double cappuccino, like focused. So that can really move the needle.
Wow. I have a few other questions. So to somebody that's listening to this, because believe it or not, I have a lot of friends that are real estate investors, and man, the competition is just insane right now. Like I have a good buddy that he wants to invest in multifamily and he does the underwriting. It's like a team of them, investors. And I mean, he's offered on probably 500 places and has not acquired a single multifamily apartment complex yet because of just how much people are overpaying. And one of the things that I really loved about one of your videos is how that there's really no competition or very little competition. Can you explain a little bit to like people that have a little experience or want to in other areas, why land can be just so much better in that sense above anything? Because it's competitive in every facet of real estate right now. Is it like that in land, or is it still great market?
It's really a great market only because it's so boring, right? If you go to a party and tell somebody you're a land investor, like, oh, okay. I mean,
yeah,
you don't go on HGTV or the DIY network and see flip this land. The before pictures raw land, the after pictures raw land. So it's kind of boring. And everyone can wrap their heads around the fact, like, we all need a place to live. But nobody needs a piece of raw land.
Right.
So that being said, 99% of what we have in our lives, we don't need. People want it. So there's billions of acres of land available for sale. There's really no big money in the niche. There's no private equity groups. There's no hedge funds. So yeah, there's a lot of small players. But I'd say that you could have 1 million people in this niche and they'll all run out of money before they run out of deal flow. The market is just that big. But it's
Wow.
today, if you go to a real estate investment association meeting, a REIA meeting, 100 people in that room, 99 of them will be house flippers, landlords, or wholesalers.
That's exactly
You
right.
and I would be the only land guys.
Absolutely. I have a mentor of mine who made a fortune in franchising, and he said the exact same thing. He's like, dude, he's like, all your effort is making the perfect cookie cutter, but he's like, making the money is boring. It's just stamping cookies. Like once you create that perfect cookie cutter, it's just like stamp, stamp, stamp. That's where all your money comes in. And, it's so true. But, the boring is where the money's made. So my next question is
Yeah.
I forgot to ask this earlier. Like, what is your experience and what is kind of like, what do you do? Like, what's the repercussions if somebody doesn't pay? Like, so you lease it out, they're paying you, you've got your money back in the form of the down payment, but let's say they default on their payments. Is it a pretty simple process? Like just
It's a great question. So unlike like you own your own home or people that own their own home, they get a deed of trust. So yeah, they own the home on the deed, but it's a deed of trust. There's a lien attached to that house
right.
with the bank. And until they pay off that promissory note, the bank really technically owns your home. Well,
That's right.
if you default on your mortgage, there's a lot of consequences. Number one, it's going to hurt your credit. But most importantly, you gotta they're gonna foreclose on their home, essentially, and take back the house. Well, foreclosure process is slow and expensive. So
Right.
instead of using a deed of trust, we use a land contract. And a land contract states that the underlying asset, the raw land, remains in my ownership, in my company name, until you pay off your promissory note. So if you default, I keep your down payment, I keep your monthly payments. You have 30 days to cure your default. And if you don't cure it in 30 days, I then sell it to a new buyer. I get a new down payment, I get a new monthly payment, and extends out my ROI, no costs of foreclosure.
So awesome. So do you think that the main reason more people aren't doing this is because it's not exciting and fun and like adrenaline rush?
I think, yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just boring.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I mean, think about a lot of people do things for ego.
That's
I mean, I hated investment banking, but I certainly love telling people I was an investment banker.
absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense. Now your friend Roberto did like through your system and your training, like, you said he's traveling the world and spending time with family. Like, did you help him also on like resources to building out his team of virtual assistants, people in like the Philippines? Like, is all of that a part of it as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's companies that we work with called landvaforyou.com, and they actually provide you with Jamaican virtual assistants that understand our land business. There's in the Philippines, there's landmasters.us. They will do your due diligence for you and they will do your ads for you. So there are actually companies now that will do a lot of this for you if you don't want to do it.
That's so crazy. I had one of my first podcast episodes a couple years back was the founder of onlinejobs.ph, and it was all about hiring a Filipino virtual assistant. And I literally got off there, hired one that day, and she's been with me for 2.5 years now. Like she does everything, all my design, like everything you can imagine, website development. She does it all. It's just so fascinating. That's so crazy that like people don't realize that all the systems are there, the resources are there, whether it's auctions or the county, like just everything is there. So I want to finish off, man. This has been great, by the way, Mark.
Yeah. The way I said that though, I just want to clarify to people, like you can't hire these companies and think they'll actually run your business for you.
Right.
They have inexpensive virtual assistants that can do tasks for you. Right. So you can run your business, but don't think like you can just give them money and then they're going to start buying and selling land. That's not going to happen.
Yeah. Hopefully they understand that, because, everything obviously takes work and effort and energy. I mean, it's not 100% completely zero work, passive income. Well, the income's passive, but there's still work involved for sure. Final question is just, where can I direct people? Like, tell us about your resources, your content? Where are you putting out most of your content? How can people follow you, what you're doing? Or if they're interested in even taking it a step further, man, how can they get involved? Like what's like the bottom of your funnel to get started, like learning what you do?
Yeah, I mean, I think the best place to start is just thelandgeek.com. And there's a free course because I think the best way to learn is by doing. So you can learn how to double your money 30 days or less. Just go to thelandgeek.com/quick deals. There's free education on the Art of Passive Income podcast. Dirt Rich is like a buck or something on Kindle. You can check that out. So, and then, as you mentioned, there's tons of free YouTube training as well at the Land Geek channel.
And that's awesome. Well, Mark, this has been a fantastic interview. I mean, literally from start to finish, everything you said has just been unbelievably valuable. And I just think everybody that's listening they're going to walk away with a really exciting, I know I have. I can't wait to dive into your content as soon as I get off this interview. It's a whole new world. And I just, boring is the new fun for me anyway. It's just what works, what doesn't work. It's not what's exciting. So I think a lot of people feel the same way, but is there anything that you want to leave everybody with before we wrap up today?
I mean, I would just say, I'd kind of like to wrap up with like a Zig Ziglar quote. If you'll do for the next 3 to 5 years what other people won't do, you'll be able to do for the rest of your life what other people can't do.
It's amazing. I love Zig Ziglar. That's incredible. Well, thank you so much, Mark, for your time. This has been just a great interview. I cannot wait to release it. And I hope that I can have you back on here again once you release your second book. That would be exciting, just talking about maybe scaling a land business now that we've covered the basics on getting started with investing. So thank you again for your time today.
Thanks, John. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.